Okay, so the noisy one is Theodin. We call him Theo. And that little girl is Jasmine. Nope, sit. Sit. Theo, no. Sit. Good boy. And they are Shelties. Anyone who has Shelties know they like to bark. And he is a blue merle. And she is a black tri. And lovely. They're a lot of fun. They're only a year apart. Theo just turned 1 in March. And Jazzy turned 2 a week later at the end of March. Hi, welcome to Divine Providence Homestead. I'm Tammy, and you can tell our channel is relatively new, and we are trying our best to put out some videos every few days. Not too good at it. I'm trying really hard, learning new program and learning how to work YouTube. So today I'm just going to go through our coop and show you how we have it set up. So we have like a shed area. We've got about 3 feet in a 10 by, I want to say it's a 10 by 14 or 12 by 14, excuse me, 12 by 14 shed. And we kept the 3 feet out front here for storage. So we have our feed can and just storage for items that you need around your house and farm. And we have, this is some wood that we need to still put on the outside to cover up some of those gaps that you see in the where the boards come together. And I have a table here that has some of my supplies for when we have chicks. We have a bin that we have oyster shell, and which I don't use too much most of the time. Most of the time we use the eggshells. We have sand and diatomaceous earth that we used over winter in their dust bath, which is right there. Bedding. And we have a nail that we can hook the feeder up when we're filling it from the can here. And then we have it so that it's suspended from the roof. And so in here, I had these great plans for a roost that would collapse up on hinges so that it could get out of the way for cleaning, and that never materialized. My husband had cut some old, well, young walnut seedlings down that were a little overcrowded, and he just nailed them up in here for them to use, and it gives them a nice natural place to grip. And then originally we had planned to have a chicken door here, and also have a chicken door over here where the explosive chicken poo is on the wall. Anyway, that never happened either, because what my idea was that I found on the internet years and years ago was to have a chicken yard on both sides. And on odd number years, you would let your chickens out on the east side, and they would scratch up that side. And then on the following year, you would put them over here on the west side, and garden on the first side. And then we have a large gap here under the window where I still want the door there so that we can shovel the bedding, the used bedding, out the back of the coop. So hopefully we'll do that. That'll make things a little bit easier. So that's kind of the inside of the coop, other than the nest boxes that we have not built yet. But this just goes to show you that you can create a nest box with about anything you have on hand. It doesn't have to be expensive. And I know a lot of people use the 5-gallon buckets, and we just implemented 2 of those because we were getting quite the lineup. I'll put a clip in after this to show you what kind of backup we had. So, but we had just 3 boxes that are, I believe, we had peroxide or something like that come in for our water system in the house, and that worked fine, but they were getting on top of the boxes, and so my husband just kind of put this board up with a few bungee straps to keep them from sitting there. So that works for now, and I need to get some fresh bedding in here today or tomorrow. So here is the east side of the chicken coop, and right now we just have some twine and yarn and stuff like that across the top because we've had a few aerial attacks by red-tailed hawks, and you can see here we have a way for them to get in. Originally going to be garden space every other year, which is why we had it mapped out the way we did. So here's the south side of the coop back, and underneath the window, like I said, I'd like to have a place where we can shovel out the compost. And so now plans have changed after 4 years, and now we're deciding to get new animals. So we're planning a lean-to off the west side of the coop, and it's hopefully going to house some cooney pigs, which we have been researching. My husband started researching those a while ago, and so we like the idea of a small, slow-growing pig that doesn't root a whole lot. Aww. You see the baby bunny? I can't get it to... We have quite the bunny sanctuary here in our yard. It must have been the first clutch of the season. Oh. So cute. So I'm just going to take you on a quick walkabout around the main part of our homestead. We do have about 7 acres, give or take. I think it's just a little tad over 7. And we have, you can see maybe with we have a lot of areas that we've just let go natural. So we have a lot of mulberry trees in here, which we'll probably select a few out of there because we're planning on making some extra pastures for our pigs, and we want a few goats too. My daughter, who is 20, Kelsey, she wants to have goats, so we are doing our research on that as well. And we have, just like any place, we have our piles of junk. And that's going to be, we're going to get a dumpster here this year, I think, and get rid of some of that stuff that we had hiding in the weeds. But we own, you can see where the field is plowed. That's our neighbors. So we have a long, thin parcel, and it goes, I don't know if you can see, that tree right there is the back of our property. So anyways, we have, this is a big naturalized area as well. We have a lot of, well, a lot of people would call them weeds. And there's some thistle and stuff in here. But we have a lot of milkweed, a couple different varieties that are growing back here, and I really want to see some butterflies and hummingbirds, and the rabbits love it. So we're not going to go hungry. We don't have to raise rabbits. We have them growing naturally in our yard, raising young every year. And you can see that we have quite a patch. This is all milkweed back in here. And you can see more mulberry trees. And here on the corner, mulberry tree, which we don't really harvest from because the farmers all use pesticides and herbicides and stuff, and we just don't like that idea, so we don't really use it. But we have this nice little walking path that goes through the weed patch, the herb patch, the butterfly garden, if you will. And this was our first attempt at apple trees. It's the only one that's left, and it's severely damaged. Just never, the wind was too strong. We didn't have enough wind breaks. When we bought this field, it was just a farm field, and so it has it just pushed it over. We had another one that was damaged in wind, where a box wrapped around it and broke its trunk when it was young. And then we had two, and I think actually this might be an apple tree that is coming up from one of them that was damaged, and so it's coming back up. Now here we have an area that we tilled up a little bit, and we got to go through and get some more weeds out of it. But this is where I want to plant. I want to plant some wildflowers right here to go hand in hand with the milkweed, so we can get some pollinators in here. And my husband loves to plant trees. He has planted every single tree on this property. That's one of the first maple trees we planted. We actually got that out of our neighbor's woods. They told us to come in and we wanted to dig up a few trees, and so he did. He dug up about 5 maple trees, and out of those 5, we have And unfortunately, they're not the type we can tap. They're not those type of maples where I can get maple syrup from. But we have, I think we have 3 that made it. All of these pine trees he planted from little seedlings. We have white pine and just some stuff that we just let grow up. We don't really like immaculate yards, as you can tell. But it's, you know, we're getting a lot of songbirds, and we have finches and cardinals and the occasional bluebird, and just, we even get mockingbirds. My husband also planted a lot of trees from just seed or nuts. We have a whole walnut grove of our own, thanks to him planting those things. Okay, so this is just the front of the house and our leach field, which is a lot of sand on top of this. They brought in a ton of sand when we built. And it's my lilac, one of my lilac bushes. And I would like to not have to mow this. So we've been researching for a while, trying to figure out what we want to plant up here that won't damage the leach field. And, you know, I don't think we're going with anything edible. I'm thinking something to attract pollinators. So some type of maybe wildflowers or prairie grasses or something to that effect. Just something that doesn't have long roots. Maybe some bulbs, and just make it so we don't have to mow. Such a waste, right? So we could plant some edibles on far enough away, like over here, because our leach field is kind of stops about right here. And so we have quite a bit of area over here that we might choose to plant some fruit trees along this side of the driveway. So that would be nice. So then this is the front where all the walnut trees are, and we're going to make this one of our pastures, which I might have said before. And we're going to have just kind of a slight turnaround here for cars and stuff. And got a problem with moles, but what do you do? We tried traps. We don't want to hurt our chickens, so we can't use anything that'll hurt them. So, as my uncle taught me to do. This is what we do when we were little out at my Uncle Lonnie's farm. Go stomping mole hills before we went and mowed the lawn. So anyways, that's it. And back to the coop, which is our only outbuilding. So we have a long way to go. And this is just something that we're planning on doing in our retirement. I'm 49. My husband will be 51 this year. So it's, you know, this has been a dream of ours for a long time. And, you know, money and circumstances always prevented us from doing it. So now we're just going to try and fulfill our dream, even if it's during our retirement, and we can enjoy it when we start to have grandkids. And that's not anywhere on the horizon, so we've got time. So I'd like to ask, what can we do to develop new pasture? We already bought some pasture grass where it's a horse mix, so it's got legumes like white clover, 2 different white clovers and such, and so that is what the Kune pigs will eat. But I'm getting mixed ideas on how to go about doing it, because the pasture, obviously if we get the pigs anytime this year, they're not going to be eating off of that pasture. It's going to have to sit and grow and, you know, dig their roots in. And so what should we do? That front pasture that I showed you, the front area in front of the coop where the walnut grove is, should we just let that grow up and let them start eating that? We know that there are weeds and stuff like that, but nothing is poisonous. It's things like lamb's quarter and dandelion greens and red clover and things like that that just come up that most people say are weeds. But we know how beneficial they are to animals and humans. The other idea is to maybe plant it behind the coop and original chicken yard, and, you know, let them eat that first and establish the pasture behind it, so that eventually we'll, you know, this year the pigs would be young and we would be able to let that sit and rest and grow for a little while, because we know that we at the most would have 4 pigs. It would be, you know, two gilts, a boar, and probably a barrow, and we would be able to pasture rotate them in that 1 acre, or it's a little more than 1 acre actually, so we think we could do okay with as long as we supplement it with hay and pig feed. The other thing that we need some advice on is, what do we do over the leach field? Like I said, I want to do something other than just lawn. Everyone says, oh, you can't put anything edible up there as far as the extension office, and every time I Google it, it says nothing that is edible, especially low-lying. So I'm thinking maybe pollinating plants. Obviously something that will reseed itself in case there's ever an issue with the leach field, and we need to have it dug up for any reason. It wouldn't be as damaging as having plants that, you know, we need to sustain the homestead and ourselves. So give us your ideas. We will definitely take them into consideration. We want to learn from some of our viewers that have been possibly homesteading for a longer period of time. Thank you so much for watching Divine Providence Homestead. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends.